When a butcher rears a cow, brings it to the place of slaughter, binds it to a post, makes it stand up, slaughters it, and looks at the slaughtered cow, during all that time he has still the notion cow. But when he has cut up the slaughtered cow, divided it into pieces, and sit down near it to sell, the meat, the notion cow ceases in his mind, and the notion meat arises. He does not think that he is selling a cow or that people buy a cow, but that it is meat that is sold and bought. Similarly, in an ignorant worldling, whether monk or layman, the concept being a man, a personality, will not cease until he has mentally dissected his body of his, as it stands and moves, and has contemplated it according to its component elements. But when he has done so, the notion personality will disappear, and his mind will become firmly established in the contemplation of the elements. And further, symmetric meditation, and further, just as if the disciple were looking at a corpse thrown on a charnel ground, 1, 2, or 3 days dead, swollen up, blue-black. Now, without looking at a real body, when you imagine a body, it's more powerful. I used to look at bodies means in India, in Nepal. My entertainment was to go and see where the bodies are being burnt. And I'm in India, in Nepal actually, because when I'm not going to the mountains, when I had to stay in Kathmandu, actually I don't go to see the body, tell you honestly. I go to see the sadness of the relations. How craving, attachment can bring so much. It's not an artificial sadness. The body is lifeless because of this craving, and it helps me to practice more metta. This I do. Sometimes I had oxygen problem and I was very sick. I should get bed rest. And I told my guide evening to take me to the cemetery. And he said, Swami, what? You should take rest. I said, rest is there. That is my rest. And when I'm practicing, I feel more. That's my medicine. So he's to take me there. But after a few days, I noticed I'm like going to collapse, So I then stayed without moving for 1 or 2 days. This is sometimes happen after oxygen, high altitude sickness. This symmetric. And further, just as if the disciples were looking at a corpse thrown on a charnel ground, 1, 2, or 3 days dead, swollen up, blue-black in color, full of corruptions. So he regards his own body. This body of mine also has this nature, has this destiny, and cannot escape it. And further, just as if the disciples were looking at a corpse thrown, you can imagine that there's a corpse in front of you. Like that only you must apply it. Your body can happen, the same thing can happen to that. That what has happened to that can happen to me. Like that you have to bring your mind. And further, just as if the disciples were looking at a corpse thrown on a charnel ground, eaten by crows, hawks, or vultures, by dogs or jackals, or devoured by all kinds of worms, so he regards his own body. This body of mine also has this nature, has this destiny, and cannot escape it. And further, just as if the disciples were looking at a corpse thrown on a charnel ground, a frame of bones, flesh hanging from it, bespattered with blood, held together by the sinews. A frame of bone stripped of flesh, bespattered with blood, held together by the sinews. A framework of bone without flesh and blood, but still held together by sinews. These are all good to visualize. And bones disconnected and scattered in all directions. Here a bone of the hand, there a bone of the foot, there a chin bone. Now you must think your present body while you're holding the book of waiting. And then you must apply this happening to this body. Like that it should happen. You must not just read only. You have to learn to see your present body and apply it to your situation. This is how then it becomes a meditation object. Okay, it's very important. Then otherwise no meaning how you do this. They are a bone of the hand, they are the bone of the foot, they are the shin bone, they are a thigh bone, they are pelvis, they are the spine, they are the skull. So he regards his own body. This body of mine also has this nature, has this destiny, and cannot escape it. And further, just as if the disciples were looking at bones lying in the charnel ground, bleached and resembling shells, bones heaped together after the lapse of years, bones weathered and crumbled, to dust. So he regards his own body. This body of mine also has the nature, has this destiny, and cannot escape it. Thus he dwells in contemplating of the body, either with regard of his own person, or to other persons, or to both. He beholds how the body arises, beholds how it passes away, beholds the rising and passing away of the body. Now this is one way is to see how you are born and now this you will die and how it will decay like that. Other ways how the body arises. One is craving and ignorance. Then you create karma. That's one way of creating the body. And when in absence of craving and ignorance, how the body will not arise again. That's one way of seeing how the body arises, passes away. To yourself and to other people, and both of like that, you learn to analyze, reflect about the impermanence of this body.